What if I told you that you could speed up your editing workflow significantly, like so much faster than what it is right now, without being a better editor, without knowing anything more than you do right now? But this one simple change to your editing workflow could save you tons of time, headache, stress, whatever you want to call it. And the answer is very simple. It's called building a tall timeline. And if you don't know what that means, on the top of Premiere Pro, I'm going to show you how to make and how to reorganize your workspace to build this tall timeline to be as efficient as possible in your editor. Let's get into it real quick and let's just talk about how we're actually going to do this. Click this. I'm going to go down here to 2024 tall timeline. You might have a giant list of other ones. I have them put into a, if you press edit workspaces, I have them in do not show. There's a lot of workspaces I just don't care about, so I keep my stuff really clean. But again, this is what my tall timeline looks like. So I named it 2024 tall timeline. And this is my editor workspace for when I make videos like now for this channel. Right here in the center, you can see the program window. This is just obviously your actual edit. Whatever you've just made is gonna be there. Over here on our left side, we'll start up at the top left. We have our source. So when you want to see a piece of footage, right, and you double click it, it'll open here in the top left window. Again, next to that is effect controls. If you need to edit something, right, you click on your footage, you come over here, you do all the effects you need to do to it. From there, you have audio track mixer, which if you drop this down, you can work off the actual layers down here. So like this is audio 1, 2, 3, and then the mix. And then volumetric color, of course, for color correction, should I need to, it's all right here. So this is where I kind of reference, the physical aspects of my video, whether it's the scale, and position of it, or it's the color of it. And over here on the right side, we have our timeline. Of course, it's pretty obvious. I don't need to explain a timeline. But the nice thing about this is if I, right click and I go add tracks, I can add like 5 video tracks, add like another 5 audio tracks, press OK. And now I can have a total of 16 layers, 8 audio, 8 video, and I can still see all of them at once, because when you get really dense in your edit and you have a lot of things going on, it's nice for me at least to see all my layers at once. And I might have more than that and I might have to scroll, but you might work different than I do. So this is a good place to start. Down here in the bottom left, I have my project panel. The project panel is most important to me to keep my stuff organized. This is why there's nothing else in this bottom corner except this. It keeps me extremely organized. It allows me to know that anything I need to reference in terms of media and imports all end up here in the bottom left-hand corner. That's my personal preference. I like to have a list view. Of course, you can have a icon view and double click that, and it'll do the exact same thing. And then down in the bottom censor area, I have essential graphics and effects. So anytime I edit any text, essential graphics will open up. I can click on the text here and I can, center it, for instance. I can scale it down, do everything I want down here in a very nice, organized way. And then of course, next to that is the actual effects panel where I can grab effects and add them and use them as you would. I don't think I need to explain the effects panel, but of course I like to keep this separate. So not only can I click an effect and just drag it into here, but I also can see things take place in real time. I can see now that I've dragged it onto the footage, it dragged over here as well. So really all it is just making sure I don't have to leave the window to be as organized as possible. If you need to find any other windows and you want to add something that I might not have, you can come down here. Let's say I want this text window, right? Because I want to add captions, and I do this every single time, so I need to make sure that I have it nearby. So I'll add the text window, and for me, I don't want the text window up here. I want it down here, so I can click on the word text, click it, hold, and drag to a new window. You can see that it pops up, and as it does, it highlights different sections. So if I were to drop it here, it would go on the left panel of this timeline, but that wouldn't logically look good. So I'm gonna go down here to the effects panel, and instead of dropping it in the center or on this, I'm gonna drop it up here in the tabs. So now it acts as a new tab. But let's say you're in that, original editing timeline, and this is where you're starting from. Let's really quickly finish this off by talking about how to actually reorganize these panels. Let's start with our timeline. We want it to go on that right side of the screen. Click on the word, your timeline sequence itself, click it, drag all the way to the right, and you'll get this green little highlighted section, meaning it's gonna be the farthest thing on the right when I let go. So now, of course, you can't see your program, your source is all messed up, you'll run into these problems, but it's an easy fix. Click on the line and just drag this back. Program, not big enough. So I'm gonna click on this line now and drag this back. Then I can click this and drag this up. So now it takes up the absolute most section of this window. So let's click and drag this here and push this, because also the audio waveforms, I don't need to have them very large either. Now my project, it's looking really, spacious, and I don't need all this. Close this by clicking the 3 lines, close panel, We don't want to close the effects, but we're going to actually click the effects, drag them onto this right side. So now there's a window here and a window there. Close this panel, close that panel. Let's drag this over. All my stuff up here that I want is up here. I don't want the clip mixer, so I'm going to close that. I don't want the metadata, so I'll close that. I'll go to window. I'll go down here to audio track mixer, and now it automatically adds it up here, which is nice and convenient. Go to window, volumetric color. It'll automatically try to add it over here every time for some reason. Click it, drag it over here, reorganize what you just did, because sometimes you have to do that. Let's add that text panel. Click and drag it down here. Add the essential graphics panel. We don't want that over here, so let's click and drag it down here again. Drag this back. All right, and you know, for the most part, and I don't exactly remember what I had in there. I've used and curated this workspace I built for myself, the tall one, over time. But this is essentially how you do things. You just click and drag them in the spot that you want them. You find a spot, you drop it, it'll be there. And then let's say you like this, but you don't want to reset this every single time you make an edit. Go to Window, go to Workspaces, all the way down to the bottom. Save as new workspace. That's your best friend. Do not press reset to save layout, because if you press reset to save layout, it will reset it to whatever it's saved as. And in this case, the editing one is a stock built-in layout that will reset to what we started with. We don't want that if you just did all this work to, you know, organize it. So save as new workspace, title it, press OK. Now let's say I'm in here real quick and I delete this and I drag this over here and I stretch this up and everything looks really bad and disorganized. Instead of undoing things, because you have to manually undo them, you can go to Window, Workspaces, and go to Reset to Save Layout. And that will take what we just did and undo all of it and put it back to whatever that layout was saved as. And that's that. It speeds up my workflow, it makes things easy. Truthfully speaking, I wouldn't go back to the normal editing tab or any other format of a workspace. This is the only one I like using. That being said, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching. A lot is gonna be happening soon where I won't be able to post videos as often, but that will just be for a short time, so I'm gonna try to push out as many pieces of content as I can. Until then, see you later.